My beloved child. There is something you have ignored for far too long. It never arrived with loud words. It never knocked on your door. It quietly entered through familiar smiles, ordinary conversations, and moments that looked completely harmless. The reason you found this message today is not by chance. A hidden truth has been standing beside you while everyone else was looking somewhere else. Someone connected to your family circle has slowly changed. Not in appearance. Not in voice. But in intention. The strange part is that almost nobody noticed it. They still laugh together. They still speak politely. They still appear supportive whenever others are watching. Yet something feels different whenever you enter the room. Conversations suddenly stop. Eyes quickly move away. Certain topics disappear the moment you arrive. You probably convinced yourself that it was only your imagination. But what if it was never imagination at all? What if your heart noticed something before your mind was ready to believe it? Sometimes the greatest warning does not come from noise. It comes from silence. The silence that follows your footsteps. The silence that hides behind forced kindness. The silence that carries questions nobody dares to ask. Today, that silence begins to reveal its meaning. Keep listening carefully because the next few moments may completely change the way you see the people closest to you. Think about the last few months. Have you noticed how one particular relative suddenly became unusually interested in your choices? They ask where you are going. They ask who you spend time with. They remember tiny details that even you forgot mentioning. At first, it feels like care. It feels like concern. It feels like family simply being family. But there is another possibility that almost nobody talks about. Sometimes excessive attention is not created by love. Sometimes it is created by curiosity. Curiosity becomes comparison. Comparison becomes quiet competition. Quiet competition slowly changes into something much harder to recognize. Not because anyone openly admits it, but because hidden emotions rarely introduce themselves honestly. They wear polite faces. They hide behind compliments. They appear during celebrations. They smile inside photographs. Yet beneath every pleasant moment, another story quietly grows. That story is never spoken aloud. It waits patiently. It watches every success you achieve. It measures every step you take. It notices every opportunity that comes toward you. And one day, it begins influencing the atmosphere around you without saying a single obvious word. The shocking part is not that this happens. The shocking part is how invisible it remains until everything suddenly makes sense. Now imagine standing inside a room filled with familiar faces. Everyone knows your name. Everyone remembers your childhood. Everyone believes they understand who you are. But only one person quietly refuses to accept the person you are becoming. That difference changes everything. Growth has a strange effect on relationships. Some people celebrate it. Others become uncomfortable without understanding why. They never planned to feel that way. They never expected your confidence to grow. They never imagined your future would begin moving in directions they could not predict. Slowly, ordinary conversations become filled with hidden comparisons. Small achievements receive smaller reactions. Important dreams receive unexpected doubts. Exciting opportunities suddenly attract strange questions. Nothing looks dramatic from the outside. That is exactly why almost everyone misses it. The greatest emotional shifts rarely happen during arguments. They happen during ordinary afternoons. During casual gatherings. During simple family conversations where every word sounds normal until you notice what is missing. Encouragement disappears. Genuine excitement fades away. Warmth becomes carefully measured. Suddenly, you realize that not everyone around you is responding to your journey in the same way anymore. That realization feels uncomfortable because it challenges everything you believed about familiarity. Here is the revelation that surprises almost everyone. Safety is not only about physical distance. True safety begins with emotional peace. When your mind constantly questions someone's intentions, your heart quietly becomes exhausted. You begin explaining yourself more often. You start hiding your dreams before sharing them. You celebrate victories more carefully. You become cautious without understanding why. That silent change inside you is worth noticing. Because your inner peace always recognizes shifts before your eyes do. Many people spend years ignoring that feeling. They call it overthinking. They call it sensitivity. They call it bad timing. Yet deep inside, something continues whispering the same message. Pay attention. Observe carefully. Listen beyond the words. The most unforgettable lesson is this. Not every smile carries the same meaning. Not every compliment carries the same energy. Not every familiar face continues walking beside you with the same heart they once had. Time changes people quietly. Expectations change people silently. Comparison changes people invisibly. That is why wisdom never begins with fear. It begins with awareness. And awareness is exactly where today's journey truly starts. But everything you have heard until now is only the surface. Because there is one hidden detail that almost nobody notices until it completely transforms the entire picture. This detail explains why certain conversations feel unusual. Why unexpected tension appears without any clear reason. Why one particular moment from your past suddenly keeps returning to your memory. It is connected to a choice that was made long before you realized its importance. A choice so ordinary that everyone ignored it. Yet today, that forgotten moment is beginning to reveal consequences nobody expected. Once you understand that connection, every confusing interaction starts fitting together like pieces of a hidden puzzle. The truth waiting ahead is far bigger than a misunderstanding. It is far deeper than a simple disagreement. And when that final piece appears, you will never look at familiar relationships in exactly the same way again. The next part uncovers the moment where everything quietly began. Everything changed because of one moment that looked completely ordinary. Nobody applauded it. Nobody questioned it. Nobody even remembered it after it happened. Yet that single moment quietly became the beginning of a completely different story. It was not a celebration. It was not an argument. It was simply a choice. A decision you made without realizing that someone nearby would never forget it. While you continued living your life, another person silently replayed that moment again and again. They compared it with their own journey. They wondered why your path seemed to move forward while theirs remained uncertain. Little by little, an invisible distance appeared. It was never announced. It simply grew. That is why recent conversations have carried a strange feeling that is difficult to explain. The words sound normal. The expressions appear kind. Yet something underneath feels unusually heavy. Your heart notices it before your mind can describe it. The most surprising truth is that people rarely reveal hidden emotions through what they say. They reveal them through what they quietly stop saying. Then another unexpected pattern began to appear. Think carefully about the times you shared exciting news. Instead of genuine excitement, the response often arrived with hesitation. Instead of celebrating your progress, the conversation quickly shifted somewhere else. Instead of asking about your future, attention returned to the past. These moments seemed too small to matter. You probably ignored them because they did not feel important enough. But small moments repeated many times create a much bigger picture. Every quiet pause. Every missing smile. Every forgotten encouragement. Every unusual reaction slowly became another piece of a puzzle that remained unfinished. Most people only notice the final picture after years have passed. You have the opportunity to notice it much earlier. That does not mean you should become suspicious of everyone. The silent conversation began long before anyone realized it existed. No voices were raised. No dramatic scene unfolded. Instead, it was built through tiny moments that seemed too ordinary to matter. A glance that lasted 1 second longer than expected. A smile that disappeared the moment you looked away. A conversation that suddenly changed direction when you entered the room. None of these moments alone could explain anything. But together, they formed a pattern that your heart quietly recognized. That is why you occasionally felt uncertain without knowing the reason. Your spirit was noticing connections that your eyes had not yet assembled. The remarkable truth is that hidden emotions rarely announce themselves. They leave small footprints, expecting nobody to follow them. Yet today, those footprints are beginning to form a clear path. And once you see where that path leads, every unanswered question from the past begins connecting in ways you never imagined. There is one detail that changes everything. People often reveal what they value most by what captures their attention. Think carefully. Who always notices your smallest success before anyone else does? Who remembers every new opportunity that comes into your life? Who quietly asks questions that seem ordinary but always return to your future? Those questions may sound harmless on the surface. Yet sometimes they reveal something much deeper. They reveal a person trying to understand a journey they cannot fully explain. The strange part is that this curiosity often hides behind kindness. That is why it becomes difficult to recognize. You naturally trust familiar faces. You naturally believe that shared history guarantees shared intentions. But history alone cannot determine the direction of someone's heart. Every person continues making new choices every single day. Some choose encouragement. Others choose comparison. And those choices slowly shape every relationship without anyone speaking about them openly. Now another unexpected truth begins to appear. The more your confidence quietly grows, the more carefully you must protect your peace. Not by becoming distant. Not by becoming fearful. But by becoming wiser about what deserves your attention. Every dream does not need immediate approval. Every plan does not need to be explained before it begins. Some of life's greatest blessings grow stronger in quiet places. Imagine planting a young tree. Before it becomes strong, it needs time to develop deep roots. Constant disturbance slows that growth. Your hopes are no different. They become stronger when protected by patience rather than endless discussion. This is why your heart has recently encouraged you to become more thoughtful about what you share and when you share it. That feeling is not accidental. It is preparing you for a season where wisdom matters more than constant explanation. Here comes the moment that surprises almost everyone. The person who understands your value the least is not always the one who dislikes you. Sometimes they simply cannot imagine the future waiting ahead for you. They continue measuring you by old memories while your life is already moving towards something greater. This creates quiet misunderstandings that grow over time. You may notice subtle changes in the atmosphere without any obvious reason. Conversations become shorter. Enthusiasm becomes quieter. Familiar warmth feels slightly different. None of this proves harmful intentions. It simply reminds you that not everyone walks through change at the same pace. Some people celebrate growth immediately. Others need much longer to understand it. Your responsibility is not to force understanding. Your responsibility is to continue walking with peace, patience, and quiet confidence. But the greatest revelation is still waiting. There is one forgotten memory connected to your family that everyone believed had no lasting importance. It seemed like an ordinary day. An ordinary decision. An ordinary conversation. Yet hidden inside that forgotten moment is the missing piece that explains why everything feels different today. Once that forgotten memory comes back into the light, the entire story will take an unexpected turn. And when that truth is finally uncovered, you will realize that the signs were present all along, quietly waiting for the right moment to be understood.